But fourth overall, is it a big deal?
It is a big deal. It's
It's
bittersweet, but it's still a
300,000.
big deal. I think you should
It's
celebrate.
300,000. We celebrate?
Celebrate.
Okay.
Yay!
This is the EuroLeague Fantasy Challenge Podcast with Javier Gancedo and Frankie Sachs.
Welcome to episode number 29 of the EuroLeague Fantasy Challenge Podcast. I'm your co-host, Frankie Sachs, and with me is an almost big winner, pretty exciting, but almost big winner, my co-host, Javier Gancedo, who last week came in fourth overall in the weekly rankings.
Fourth overall, man. Hello, Frankie. Hello, everybody. I was really close. I mean, I will talk about it. I mean, there was one decision that if I had made it, and you suggested, I would have been first. But fourth overall, is it a big deal?
It is a big deal.
It's 300,000.
Bittersweet, but it's still a big deal. I think you should celebrate.
We celebrate? Okay.
Celebrate. Yay!
I was supposed to throw this, but it didn't work. It's don't buy stuff like this in inappropriate shops and everything. It can go wrong. Anyway, what's up? I was fourth. Yes, I mean, and now my computer is full of confetti everywhere. You should see it, man.
Your computer is celebrating also.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I made the right choice by picking Larkin captain on the second turn, but then you suggested that Nigel Hayes-Davis should have a good game against Alba Berlin, but you were kind of worried about his playing time. Turns out that in order to beat the record, he played extra. And if I had picked Nigel Hayes-Davis, I would be first by far. But I didn't pick him. I wasn't sure, and I thought 31 PAR was enough for Larkin to be MVP of the week, and see what happened. He broke the all-time single game scoring record, 50 points in a EuroLeague game. That's amazing.
Yeah, I had a pretty good week, but I made the wrong decision basically every night with the captain. I started with Baldwin, who had a good week, but then I decided not enough for my captain. Then I went to Mirotic, who had the same 23 PR but did not win, so he was worth less than Baldwin. And then when we debated it with a certain, I guess, unnamed former guest of the podcast, what should we do for Friday? And I said, should I put in Nigel Hayes-Davis? And we debated it, the three of us, and I decided not to, and you decided not to, and I guess he also decided not to, and we all regret it.
Yeah, I was contacted by Sasha Besenkov, who is not, by the way, this mystery man. He was like, "Oh, fourth overall. That's great. That's amazing." And I was like, "Yeah, but he was fifth 2 weeks ago." So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, now it's your turn. You have to do really well.
I do have to do really well. I'm not confident this is the week that I'm going to do very well. Well, but and I also need to publicly give you credit, not just fourth overall this week, but for all the times I've mocked you throughout the season, that in the teams that we use publicly, that I've been beating you by a substantial margin. The other team that you have in our private league is far ahead of me. I will say though, in my defense, I have one team only. I don't have a dozen teams under different.
True, and we still have Igor Petrinovic on the top 100 or top 200. He's having a fantastic fantasy season, and it's ahead of us.
In EuroLeague and Euro Cup, he's having a fantastic season.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, like I said, Nigel Hayes-Davis broke all the records. Should it be enough to keep him, or you expect us? Well, I mean, it's gonna be a slower game, also, sure. But is it a good week for Nigel Hayes-Davis after what happened, or is it gonna take it a little bit slower, or not really because Fenerbahce is in the mix to get the home court advantage in the playoffs?
It's a very tricky week for a lot of players, for a lot of games. I think that this is the point in the season where you have to factor in so many other things. Certainly with some teams at this point, namely Real Madrid, which is locked into first place. Maybe some teams at the bottom are not playing for anything. Next week, we could have a bunch of teams that are locked in and maybe resting players, and it gets very tricky. This week, though, with the Derby, I think we can count on Fenerbahce playing hard and playing all its players the maximum amount of minutes that they need to win. So then it comes down to, do you think you're going to do better with those credits? Do you need those credits somewhere? At this point, to make one or two certain moves, I need to get rid of a high-priced player, but I decided Nigel Hayes-Davis was not the player to get rid of right now.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I'm selling a very expensive player, which is Wade Baldwin, MVP of the month. Just because, it's a very important game. Maccabi counts on the win to battle even the home court advantage in the playoffs, or make it to the playoffs at least. But playing against Ricky Rubio and playing against Thomas Satoransky is not going to be easy for Baldwin, I think. He'll take a lot of shots, but I don't think he's going to have a high PAR like he did, basically throughout the entire month of March. And also the MVP of the month, for some reason, they're not playing well the first game of the next month. It didn't happen with Hessonia, happened with Musa, happened with Campata, happened with everybody. So maybe Sangelia played well, all right. But I don't know. I have to take a risk if I want to be different from other players, and I'm taking Baldwin out. Let's see how it goes. Maybe it will be a mistake, but we'll find out very soon anyway.
I am not doing that for several reasons. First of all, I think the last point you made there is interesting, but I don't think that that's any real meaning to this game. That's just a flukish stat that guys might have had quiet games after being the MVP. What I like about Baldwin in general, even against elite defenders, is that he is maybe the king of the mid-range jumper in the EuroLeague. He can get that shot, and if you give him space, he'll get to the rim, he'll drive, but his ability to pull up from mid-range makes him very difficult to stop, even for the best guards, the Rubios and the Satoranskys. I just think that's a weapon you can't take away from him. So if his shot's falling, I think he can be effective against anybody. And the other thing is, you can't double team him because he passes and because Lorenzo Brown is there. And is it so important to stop Wade Baldwin that you're going to let Lorenzo Brown pick you apart? So I just think that the backcourt is strong enough, and the way Nebo is playing, giving them a constant alley-oop threat, that Baldwin will produce. Now, will he produce another 46? I doubt it. But the last point I will make is that when I looked at my team for this week, all of my strongest players, except for Baldwin and Josh Nebo, I guess, were playing on Friday. So I wanted a player to put as my captain Thursday, somebody who's high priced and I can expect something good from and take a chance from. So for all those reasons, I'm staying with Baldwin. But I can understand anytime, whether it's Nigel Hayes-Davis, whether it's Baldwin last month with Mike James, sometimes you say a player, hey, he's at his peak, maybe time's to sell. That's how you play well, right? Even if he's very good, but goes down, if I get maximum credits, can spend it somewhere else. That's how you build your team and go forward.
Yeah, well, I'm picking Mike James. He plays on Thursday. I think it's a more reliable source. He's going to play back-to-back home games to finish the regular season also. He plays Žalgiris, and Žalgiris is meant to be, or in the eyes of people, is a very defensive team, but they're scoring 80 plus in the last 3 games. They speeded up their offense with Trinchieri, and that's also the reason why I'm picking Edmond Sumner. I like what I saw. I mean, I don't know if you saw the game last week, but he was unbelievable. He had a PAR of 28 in like 15 minutes against Milano, and he did a little bit of everything: assists, steals, 3-pointers, great energy, and for 8 credits, 8.1, I think he's right now still in the game. So I'm gonna get Sumner and Mike James this week. That's gonna be my backcourt for Thursday, basically.
Yeah, I think those are legitimate picks, and I could tell you why I would not take them, but that doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong. It's just it's a lot of gut feeling. What does your gut tell you? Who do you think is going to do well? Round 33 is very tricky. A lot of us have a lot of credit, so it's not hard to fill your team with the players you want to. It's just guessing who's going to do well.
There's another game that is maybe not that important for the standings, but I think for fantasy is even critical, I would say. Valencia plays as well. That means that Nando De Colo goes back to Valencia, where he played when he met his wife. His wife is from Valencia. He usually plays well in La Fonteta, but then Asbel is a physical team, and that's perfect for the 2 physical players that Valencia has in Anderson and especially Ojelai. I like Ojelai a lot this week, and I'm going to try to buy him. But Anderson has been also, he can guard anybody from 1 to 5. He has given Valencia a lot of physicality that is not helping them to win games, but I think they'll get there. Maybe not in time to make it to the playoffs, but it's a good move. So what do you think? Nando De Colo, getting better, but coming off the bench. Ojelai, playing against a physical team where he can, make the most out of his explosiveness. What's your take?
there's obviously a reason to consider either of them, and you just made a very good case. I was able to build a team that is mostly players who have been fairly consistent. I have to say mostly because I do have Alexa back on my team, Alexa Avramovich, who has been somewhat inconsistent, but I'm bringing him back. So
that's because I don't have him, right?
That is one of the reasons. It has to be, of course. Yes, the curse is lifted. The jinx is lifted.
I knew.
But there's also so I don't want to have players who I'm worried about. Oh, are they going to do well? Unless they're very cheap at the end of my bench. And Nando's just priced a little bit too high for me to want to jump in and just because he's going back to the town where if he's not getting the minutes, if he's not the go-to guy with 32 minutes, then it doesn't matter how much he has to prove. It's very difficult to expect that big game. And Valencia has been so beat up physically that I just don't know that it matters. And, their games can go any way. There's guys I look at every time, and Damon Inglis has been very good, but I haven't always taken because I'm so nervous about the matchups. Even though he's been getting more minutes with guys hurt and the team is sort of in a free fall, they're falling out of the play-in showdown race. It's hard for me to really get a feel for any of the Valencia players that I want right now. So I would stay away from, and in fact, I am staying away from players from both teams. But if it fits your puzzle, like I said, you're always trying to weave together a tapestry, the best puzzle you could put out there. And if those guys work for the right price, or just honestly trust your gut feeling. Sometimes if you trust your gut feeling, that's the difference between fourth place and first place.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what happened last week. No, but I mean, Brandon Davis is back. I think Asbel had a really ugly loss. I think they scored 55 points against Valencia in Lyon. I think they're going to bounce back somehow. And De Colo will probably have a good game. Luau Cabarrot really played really well the other day. It's hard to say.
But that's the thing. So I actually looked at him at one point when I was and he hadn't played the few games before that. So I don't really want to spend more, even in the 10 to 13 range. And that's what I kind of feel. In the 10 to 13 range is where you have a lot of players who have huge upside but are inconsistent. And I kind of want to stay away from those guys. I don't want to spend 12, or I think he might be closer to 10, but I don't even want to spend 10 on somebody who I'm not convinced is going to give me a minimum of 15.
All right. Well, before we show our teams, any recommendation, any player a little bit cheaper that could help our managers out there?
I didn't come across any very cheap steals this week. Aside from the guys on my team who you know about. I am going back to Alexa just because I feel that the value is still there at 7.1 credits. Alba Berlin is a high scoring opponent, and if they get into a bit of a race there, then I'm hoping that he'll work. Plus, again, it's the Thursday night. I wanted to have 6 guys going Thursday night. I feel it's the safest way to build a team if I was able to, so I did that. That also led me to picking up Martin Hermansen, who is 6.3 credits. You gave him a shout out maybe in the EuroLeague Fantasy Tips article last week.
Yeah, I did.
Right. And that got me thinking about him. Last week I did not have the room for him, and he did not have a great week, but it was his week. He'd been fairly consistent, giving above 10 PR above 10 for 3 weeks in a row before that. He's pretty much entrenched in his role. He's a veteran, good shooter, passes. So for that price, I wanted to take him. So those are 2 guys for guards. I don't have anybody else that jumps at mind. Do you have a list of guys that you went through who are cheap who you'd recommend?
No, but I'm really satisfied with Jerome Blossom game. He's playing really well. He had double digits in the last 4 or 5 games, and he's a player that is growing, and I'm keeping basically. Even when Alpha Diallo had a really good game against Asvel, he still got his numbers. So I like that. I always say the same, but he was at some point with Ulm. He had the best PAR average in a regular season of the Euro Cup. He's a good player, and I like him. And at 6.9 credits, I think he's a good choice. Anyway, my team.
To our teams, let me just ask you, with the Derby of Istanbul coming up, and we've been all over the place this year, deep on Efes players, deep on Fenerbahce players. Who are the players that you think have the most fantasy relevance this week in the Derby?
It's hard, but I'm going with Motley. I like Motley a lot. He had, I think, almost a PAR of 30 within 15 minutes the other day against Alba. He's going to play more, I think, against Tibor Pleiss and against Tyreek Jones. I think he has kind of combination of experience against Jones and power against Pleiss that could work. And I'm going with Larkin all the way. I think he's going to play well. I don't think, other than Jan Madara, I don't think they have a super defensive specialist that could hold him. Because Calaites has been playing against Larkin forever, and they know each other too well. And I think all of them.
Madar's a little bit out of the lineup lately, out of the rotation lately, also.
Yeah, true. So I mean, I like Larkin. I'm gonna keep him. I think also I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think both teams are gonna be around 90 points, and somebody has to score in FS, and that's gonna be Clyburn and Larkin. By the way, Clyburn against Nigel Hayes-Davis, that's one hell of a matchup. I mean, not talking about fantasy, just in general, it's gonna be two of the best one-on-one players in the league going against each other. That's something you don't want to miss.
No, I mean, it has all the markings of a great game.
Yeah, totally. It's gonna be awesome. Anyway, I'm guessing that since you picked Abramovich, you're gonna pick Zelko Obradovic as head coach, maybe?
You would think that, and I did consider it, but no, I'm spending a little bit more money and going for Coach Ataman this week.
Interesting. All right. No, I'm picking Zelko. 5 credits, I think, against Alba. I think he's gonna win. It's gonna give me enough the points I need, at least 10. So if they win, because you never know. This is the year.
That's the thing. You never know. And Partizan has unfortunately had a couple late meltdowns in games that were so exciting to watch, and they kind of struggled late. They were up against Madrid and they lost. Last week they were up against Olympiacos and they lost. I do think that they will win this week. But in Alba, despite getting punched in the face last week by Fenerbahce and losing by 30 something, they're going to fight at home. It's not going to be a pushover. So my concern was, what if they end up Partizan even wins, but wins by 3 or 4? But who's red hot and could put a game away early and roll? And I thought, wow, Panathinaikos is in they've also been a bit inconsistent, but trusting my gut, they could make this a one-sided game, trying to lock up second place, and I didn't want to miss that out. So I'm going with Hataman, hoping for the best.
All right. Sorry if I keep looking down because I have confetti like everywhere. It's I shouldn't have done this, man. It's horrible. I'm gonna have to clean this for like an hour.
We're all celebrating with you.
All right. I'm picking Oradovic, like I said. I think he's gonna win. And then I traded Pajola and Butkevicius and Baldwin, and I got Sumner, James, and Adam Hanga. Looks like Zvezda is having some problems at the point guard position. And they're going with the old trick of using Hanga as point guard. Madrid did it, Barca did it, everybody did it, and he had a really good game in Madrid playing point guard. So
reliable.
Yeah. His I mean, you can go to war with players like this. So yeah, that's gonna be my team exactly. I mean, by position and by day, I'm having James as team captain along with Sumner, Hanga, Blossom Game, Nebo, and Hermanson. And I have one hell of a bench with Costello, who, by the way, always plays well against Madrid, Nigel Hayes-Davis, Shane Larkin, and Tarik Biberovic, who I don't hope to use. If Biberovic finishes my starting lineup, that's bad news for me, I'm sure. Not because of Tarik, because everybody failed, basically.
Well, that's the question. That when we look at guys like that, I also have him on my bench. What is the number for you that you put him in at? If he's against the player that's 11, do you put him in? If it's 9, is it 15? Where do you say, if that's the one, what's the number for you that you put him in?
10 or so. That's
okay.
That's the limit, more or less. Depends on the week, depends on the opponent. I have the feeling that I didn't trade him and I traded with Kevicius instead because I have the feeling that he'll have a good Turkish derby. But you never know.
Right. No, I've got 6 Thursday and 4 Friday, which means that I'd have to have 4 of my Thursday players play poorly or subpar for me to put them in the lineup. And I'm hoping that's not the issue. That doesn't happen. But yeah, you have to have that number in head, and it's best to decide ahead of time so you're making a wise decision. My moves this week are, so I've already told you that I made the switch at coach. The players I dropped are Vanya Marinkovic, John Di Bartolomeo, and my expensive drop was Chima Moneke, who I did not I'm not dropping him because I don't want him, but just because I need to make somebody. And out of the three, him, Nikola Mirotic, and Nigel Hayes-Davis, I just decided that Muneke was the one against Real Madrid that I had the most concern. Now watch it blow up in my face and he has a 38 or something, but you have to pick somebody. And my additions are, I've already said two of them, which were Alexa and Hermanson, and my third one is Dinos Mitoglu. So optimistic there, and that gives me a lineup of on Thursday. So I have the two centers. I'm sticking with Frank Kaminsky and Josh Nebo. A little bit concerned also about Kaminsky, not because of his talent. I'm thrilled, but Zach Day is back. I will cut into his minutes, but Kaminsky had another strong week last week, and I just think he'll continue to have a major role, even if it's in fewer minutes, because Day is back in. I don't think that we'll see him dropping off in minutes, and I'm hoping for big production. Nebo, you can't cut right now, even though I'm nervous again. Barcelona's strong front line, but Nebo's been red hot. There's no reason to drop him. At forwards, I have Hayes-Davis, Mirotic, Mitoglu, and Tariq. And my guards are Baldwin, Alexa, Hermanson, and Kendrick Nunn, who I picked up last week and had a very, not just a game-winning shot, but he also had a very good fantasy game. And I'm hoping to roll with him through the end of the season.
Kendrick Nunn is also a great mid-range. I just spoke about Baldwin, but Kendrick Nunn is a great mid-range jumper, also shooter.
Absolutely.
He's surprised me. Has he missed a free throw yet? I mean, last week he hasn't. It was like something like 54 or 54 or something.
It's the best start to a EuroLeague career ever.
Yeah, unbelievable.
As far as free throws.
Yeah, unbelievable. Anyway, that's all we have time for. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter, and we'll be posting our final lineups over there more or less on Thursday night. You can also comment if
Thursday afternoon.
Well, yeah, true, because they changed the clocks, so it's not night anymore when the game starts. Yes, and yeah, you can find us in many different ways, including YouTube. You can comment over here, and that's it. It's not just a Turkish derby. It's I mean, everything is at stake. I mean, everything is up for grabs. So enjoy a very special Turkish Airlines EuroLeague round, and well, the fun will be going on in the playoffs, but this is going to be a great end of the regular season.
Yeah, some of these games have massive playoff implications. It's almost like we're in the playoffs already. So get ready. It should be the last, one way or the other. There's going to be do or die games next week, then the play-in showdown. It's all starting now. So buckle up. It's we're already into April, and we're gonna roll on to excitement until the Final Four.
Enjoy the ride. See you next week. All right. Take care.